To everyone who's new here, and of course for those of you who are back again, great to have you here. Bitcoin is currently trading at around about 119,000 US dollar. In this video we are going to talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP and Solana, and today it's going to be very interesting. So let's just start with Bitcoin. So what I have drew here was that we should drop somewhere here and then push to the upside. It happened, so let me just take it out from the chart. What I have drew here is that it might be possible that over the weekend we can actually develop a bull flag, which afterwards break to the upside, and then we can get more gains. This bull flag didn't work. It was just speculative, very speculative. So I can take those scenarios out of the chart. We're just continuing getting higher prices. We have also said that it might be possible that we form here some kind of an head and shoulders formatation. But this didn't break to the downside. So basically, even if I make it longer, we didn't break it to the downside. So let me take this one out of the chart as well. This chart pattern didn't even got activated. Since we are continuing getting higher prices, we have one target at 119,400 US dollar. And we are also selling off very sharp right now, so it might be even possible that we already see this top without getting to 119,400 US dollar. Might be possible, but in the end of the day, we have here a chart pattern, inverted head and shoulders formatation. The maximum length of it is the 119,500 US dollar. There we have a small fair value gap right here. So I can imagine that we get in the next maybe even minutes into that target. So if we look in more detail, then I have here in yellow a bearish chart pattern. This is a rising wedge. This rising wedge, we can actually make it like this. And if we get another top, then we can get it like this. So we still have space to change the rising wedge a bit. I still have it on the chart just to show you that we are slowly getting bearish. Before I started this video, we didn't get even this push. Before it looked even like a double top pattern. If we get this kind of push and we sell off, then we can also form an bearish head and shoulders formatation. So what I think is that we are slowly getting a small pullback for almost every coin. Some could be a bit stronger from the bearish side, so means lower prices. Some might be even very strong, means we don't get a huge correction. I would still say that Bitcoin can get into the area 115,500 US dollar down to 114,400 US dollar. I will put you here 2 price marks. I think this is very realistic because if we go now in the bigger chart, then you can also see it will take some time until we get down. So basically if we get something like this, then it will take a few days. That's why I will make this one to the right side. And then we should see that area, in my opinion. And from here, I expect a huge push. And I think Bitcoin can get a new all-time high afterwards. So this is what I think. I think we are slowly getting a pullback into maybe 150,000, 116,000, 114,000 might be possible. From there, I expect a push to a new all-time high. And this circle right here on your left side, this we have drew, I think last week or 2 weeks ago. We were somewhere down below here. This was just meant that we are going to touch that that trend line again. I can take this one out from the chart and I can over the time extend the target a bit more. So currently it's 130,000 US dollar, and I think this target is going to be very realistic if we say this is going to be our bull market top. Now let's jump into Ethereum. So for Ethereum, we hoped that actually we are going to get some kind of a bull flag over the weekend. Instead, we're continuing getting higher prices. I don't want to say that this bull flag can't just get formed up here. And that's what I think. I think I was a bit early with that scenario, since we also have weekend. So the market goes a bit slower, and most likely in those times, the market develops usually new chart patterns, which we can trade. But in the end of the day, let me just take it out from the chart. I will do it afterwards again, but I want to show you something. So on the 50 minutes chart, we have so many different chart patterns. We have here a bearish one, this rising wedge. It already broke to the downside, target 4,095 US dollar. If we then look, this can also be an head and shoulders formatation. If it breaks to the downside, 4,151 US dollar, then the first target is going to be 4,095 US dollar, and afterwards 3,975 US dollar in its maximum extension. We also have two bullish chart patterns, which currently look like that they are going to break to the upside. So this falling wedge already broke to the upside, and this double bottom pattern is also looking that it's going to break to the upside. Since we already broke one chart pattern to the upside, and since the target of that chart pattern is not going to invalidate the rising wedge on your left side, so the bearish pattern, I can imagine that we can get something like this today, up to $4,300 again. Then this head and shoulders formatation would get invalidated, but we would form a double top pattern. So that's what I think. I think that we are going to invalidate that head and shoulders formatation. We should see a push into 4,313 US dollar very soon, like this. Afterwards, sell off. And here is now the interesting part. I think that we are going to break to the downside, and we are going to see the 3,975 US dollar again. Sounds bearish? It's not. It would just be on the bigger time frame. We had here our rectangle. It would just be the retest of the rectangle. And the target afterwards is going to be 4,588 US dollar. And we have two targets right now, directing us into 4,586 US dollar. Two different chart patterns directing us into the same price mark. That's very good. And I think this is going to be very precise as well. So I think we are going to sell off soon into 3,975 US dollar. And then one last push. And here I see some kind of a top, maybe even the bull market top. So basically what we have said a month ago, so this was our target. We have now more evidence that we should see that area. Before we have said, okay, 4,400 US dollar. If we go now to the daily time frame, then we can also say, okay, this is also resistance. We have stop losses over there, and we should look for them, like we should catch them. So basically a bit higher than 4,400 US dollar to fish the stop losses and the liquidity over there. Because everyone is going to short at 4,400 US dollar. They should get liquidated if the market makers push the price a bit more, and if the news comes out, everyone is in FOMO, everyone puts money into Ethereum, then those short sellers are going to get liquidated. But I want to warn you that it might be possible that we even see a new all-time high. It might be possible. I don't have the evidence for it, and with evidence I mean chart patterns. I don't have it. But what I have is those fair value gaps. Those are on the daily chart. We can look into the 8-hour chart. They are still there. We can look into the 4-hour chart. They are still there. All those red areas are fair value gaps. The price moved far too fast. Not every order got fulfilled. If we go now into the 1-hour chart, though they are still there. So it doesn't matter in which time frame I am, we still have those fair value gaps. Usually we have fair value gaps on the weekly time frame. And if we switch into the daily time frame, we have less fair value gaps. But in this case, on every single time frame, we have almost the same fair value gaps. So basically what I want to say, and for what I want to warn you, is that 4,000, roundabout, let's make it to 4,600 US dollar. Yeah, you already know the price marks, but 4,600 US dollar, if that is going to be our bull market top, then we should sell off a lot. If not, if we can still expect a new all-time high, then I would still say that from here we are going to have a bigger price correction, maybe within some kind of a bullish chart pattern on the bigger time frame, and from here get a new push, and then we can measure a new all-time high for Ethereum. Yeah, we didn't even get an all-time high for Ethereum, I have to see. No, the all-time high is at 4,800 US dollar. So basically we didn't even got an all-time high. And you can also see we don't even need to get an all-time high. Like here, for example, we still sold off. We don't need to get a new all-time high. We still sell off. And it might be possible that we are going to get a higher high to those ones, but we can still sell off a lot. And from here get a new all-time high. So I don't want to have this on the chart, this scenario where we can get a new all-time high. I'm missing the bullish structure on the bigger time frame. But what I can tell you is I'm confident that we should see the 4,400 to 4,600 US dollar with a very high chance. We have measured it far before that we are bullish for Ethereum, and I think we are still going to continue even though we might see a pullback. So if we now jump into XRP, here's something very interesting ongoing. And that's why I've said in the beginning, today is very interesting. We have said quite before, inverted head and shoulders formatation, a smaller one, broke to the upside. And we can develop an inverted head and shoulders formatation on the bigger chart. That's what I have drew here, this one right here. I have drew a few days ago before we got even this kind of push. What I wanted to show you is that we should get into the targets, $3.36. From here we should sell off, but what I have drew afterwards, it's a bit messy, I know, but I have drew this one right here. And now I even have far more evidence for it. So, inverted head and shoulders formatation. Let's get to it. I will show you something which I think is very interesting. So, if we get our left shoulder, this left shoulder is usually going to get some kind of a bearish structure. So we got first a huge sell-off. As you can see, this is it's a very sharp sell-off. Afterwards, a correction. And a correction after we got a fast sell-off is most likely far more bearish. What happened is we broke here a trend line to the downside, but in the end of the day, we just filled some fair value gaps and continued getting lower prices. Now we get some kind of a V-shaped recovery. Means we are so low that people are going to actually buy that dip. This is a V-shaped recovery. This mostly happens with the head. So, inverted head and shoulders formatation. We first sell off, get a correction, a bearish chart pattern, sell off even more, and we are so oversold that we get a V-shaped recovery. On the other hand, if we have a normal head and shoulders formatation, so like this, then we are going to see a V-shape. I don't want to say recovery, I don't know what the name of it is, but actually the same just reverse it and we get the same. So afterwards, and that's why this chart pattern is so bullish, even though we sold off down below here, a quick buy up, and afterwards the right shoulder, so this part right here, is most likely a bullish chart pattern, for example a bull flag. So in the first one we got a sharp sell-off and a correction which led us into lower prices. In this case we got a pump, a correction, and afterwards another pump. So that's how an inverted head and shoulders formatation works, and if you reverse it, then the head and shoulders formatation is going to work in the same way. You just have to switch it. So what we see here is we got our smaller one, inverted head and shoulders formatation, broke to the upside. We have set target $3.36. Maximum extension would be a bit longer, a bit more up, $3.50. Afterwards, we wanted to see a pullback round about $3.08. I still think that we are going to see the $3.08, but we are forming a bull flag. So let me take this one out. So far it worked. So this bull flag right here can develop the right shoulder. And once we break it to the upside, we filled all the fair value gaps since right here. Here are fair value gaps. We would fill all of them. We don't have any kind of fair value gaps lower than us. Like it is in my opinion not possible to break the $3.08 to the downside. We don't have any kind of bearish chart patterns leading us into lower prices. We don't have any kind of fair value gaps which are lower than $3.08, which are significant. I'm not talking about fair value gaps which are down here, but actually it looks so bullish to me. And I would wait here for the current breakout. It would be the $3.30, but for sure over the time it's going to move because this is a downwards trend line. So later on the price is going to move, it's going to be lower. What happens is once it breaks to the upside, we have several targets directing us into a specific price area. So falling wedge, bullish chart pattern, broke to the upside, got its retest right here. I have to change the target. We don't put it to the breakout point. We are going to put it to the lowest point afterwards. Target $3.53. The target, the least bullish target of the bigger inverted head and shoulders formatation is going to be the $3.75, and it's going to fit because we still have here our tops. Here we have stop loss orders and some liquidity to catch. Afterwards, small pullback, and then the maximum extension should happen, even up to $4, and I see XRP going to $4. The bull flag's target is going to be $3.78. So once we break this bull flag to the upside, we have many targets. For sure we can say, okay, the area between $3.72 to $4 is a huge one. So we have here a difference of, I think, 10%. This is a huge box. So if we take it like this, yeah, 7.5%, huge box. But once we take a trade here and we take it to the least bullish scenario, 12.8%, 21.5%. And here's now the funny part. Whoever bought XRP in the bear market down here, and I know people who still have XRP, who bought it a year ago, 2 years ago, they can actually sell it for a very high price. And even though if you have bought your XRP in this market stage, then you would also go out of your trades with a 2x. For sure, if you think that XRP is going to hit higher prices, then good luck with that. I'm not working like this. If I see more bullish chart patterns which are leading us more than $4, then I would also say the chance is there that we get higher prices for XRP, but for now it's the maximum target in my opinion is $4. So if you want to keep updated, to get updated for that, maybe you watch next week into my videos. Maybe we have developed something else. So let's just jump to Solana. So it's kind of funny because we have said about Solana that we should see here a pullback into one of the fair value gaps down below, and from here get into the purple box. We just continue getting higher prices into the purple box. So this was the target once we break the 169 US dollar to the upside. Unfortunately, it wasn't tradable with my setup because I use this breakout, for example, and I want to see a retest. And this retest should not just be 1 wick. Sometimes, yeah, if we are very bullish, then I just set a limit order there. But I also want to see some kind of price reaction, that we don't break the 169 US dollar, for example, to the downside again. Here we did. So basically Solana was not tradable for me. And also we already went here into the purple box. I don't see any kind of chart pattern which can work beside one bearish one. For example, this head and shoulders formatation on the smaller time frame. So if we break it to the downside at currently $178.90, this is also the support where I want to tell you, once we break it to the downside, we maybe should see the area $170 again, because we have here a huge fair value gap. And I would just take what I've drew on your left side, I would just put it here to the right side and then see. So this didn't happen. I can take this one out of the chart. I don't have anything more to say about Solana. We have to see how Solana is going to develop. Maybe, but only maybe, it might be possible that once we get our pullback into the area $172 to $169, let's round it up, $170, that this here might be some kind of an inverted head and shoulders formatation. If this is going to happen, then I can say, okay, we can look for higher prices and we can measure them. So far, I don't have any kind of target for Solana. So once we develop that inverted head and shoulders formatation, and this is just an example, I would say, okay, $211 is going to get very interesting for Solana. So with that said, I will release you in your nice Sunday, hopefully, and we talk in the next video about Sui, Avalanche, HBAR and Dogecoin.